Hello, this is Swarm, and welcome to Game Journal, the show where we talk about the games I've been playing, you've been playing, and anything in between. Feel free to leave your games down in the comments below, but for me, today I am bringing Live Alive to the table. It's a remake of an old SNES RPG with the HD 2D style, which, if I'm perfectly honest, is the only reason I had eyes on this thing, because every HD 2D game I've played so far has been an absolute hit. Really fun stuff, and I liked what they've done with it, so I was curious about this one. And in this game, they've come up with 7 stories, each with their own characters, gimmicks, and time period. And it's just a really neat idea. I like that idea a lot, as it makes the game feel more like a collection of smaller games, which makes it very digestible and very varied. Although, I will say, given the sheer number of stories that this game tries to tell, some of them do fall a little bit flat, some of them aren't as strong as the other ones. Overall, though, I'd say almost every story is at least enjoyable, and they're all worth playing, so I'd say they nailed it overall. For the combat, I think it's a very important thing for RPGs to nail combat. And I would say overall, I'd say I enjoyed the combat here. It's a very unique system, which takes a while to wrap your head around, since I don't think it's explained very well by the game. But it's a very unique approach, where there's, rather than having turn order or anything like that, you'll just snap to whoever's turn is next based on how their time bar has passed. Which makes it a little confusing at first, especially when you, say, use an attack that has a wind-up, and then an enemy gets to go before you and interrupts you, and you would just wonder where your attack went. But once you get a handle on it, you understand when the game is skipping to the next turn and what's happening, and you're not confused by why is this enemy going then and why am I going now. It starts to make a lot more sense, and there's some very interesting strategies that evolve from it. Although, there are a lot of very easy fights, like not particularly difficult ones that, you know, on the plus side, they don't take long, so they don't really detract from enjoyment, they just more so feel like a little bit of a filler moment. But on the whole, I really like the systems here, and when they are challenged, they're challenged well. Outside of that, there's a fair bit of gameplay here that's not just walking around and talking to people, shockingly. Like, there's so many cool gimmicks and mechanics they come up with for exploring the world outside. Stuff like the management of, like, setting up traps and exploiting a timer to try and prepare for a bigger battle coming up, or the concept in one of them is that you train your party members by fighting them, and they gain XP but not you, and that kind of thing. That really builds an interesting dynamic for each of the chapters and makes them stand out outside of simply having the battles. Really quickly now, though, I'm going to go over my favorite stories from the 7 that are presented. I think my least favorite is Near Future, and that's not because it's bad. It's very good. I really love the story. It's hilarious. It's also wild, and it's also exciting. However, the gameplay feels a lot more like a typical RPG, which isn't a bad thing. It's just the others all stand out in their own unique ways that make it a lot more fun for me. The Present is next. I enjoyed the Present quite a bit. I like the mechanics. It only suffers a bit in the story. I really like the concept of fighting enemies, gaining their powers by getting hit by them and trying to lure those out. That's really cool. Just the story, like I said, isn't very deep. It's very simple. Prehistory is next, and I found it really funny. I found it very engaging, and I enjoyed it for what it was. It wasn't anything profound, it wasn't anything, you know, special, but it was just really, really well done for what it was. The Twilight Avenger Japan I really enjoyed because of all the different ways you could go about doing it. It really felt like here's a dungeon we've set up. How do you want to solve it? And there's a bunch of different ways forward, and I felt that was really interesting. Western was really cool. I really like time management mechanics in games, especially ones where it's not super easy. In fact, I didn't do very well in my attempt, and the puzzle solving is also fun, and it was just a fun, well-told story, and it was just very entertaining overall. Imperial China's after that, and I think it's a very compelling narrative, and I think the way they use the mechanics to tell it are also very interesting. And honestly, my only complaint about that one is that I wish they'd fleshed out more, but it's already one of the more fleshed out chapters. After that, my favorite of the 7 is The Distant Future, which is just a really well told horror, sci-fi, murder mystery kind of story, and it's really good. It's nothing exceptionally unique or something you haven't seen before, it's just well told for what it is. Finishing up that, let's just take a moment to praise the HD 2D style, because it's gorgeous as ever here. A little bit worse, I'd say, than, say, Octopath or Triangle Strategy, but minor things like environmental stuff that kind of looks a little bit out of place, more than anything that would actually cause detriment to anyone playing. And the music, of course, is fantastic. It's got songs that'll just stick in your head forever, and it's really well done. I just love it. I will be listening to that music for the next long while. And with all that said, I think if you haven't played this game yet, and you're liking what you're hearing, and you think it's a good match for you, highly recommend. I definitely think it's a good choice, good thing to pick up. But that brings us to the end of the Shallows. So, next up, I'm gonna dive deeper, spoiling some aspects of this game, spoiling all the endings, going in depth. So, if you're not in for that, see you around, but without further warning, let's go in to the deep dive. Alright, so before we get into the proper ending, let's discuss a few of the individual chapters and how I felt that sometimes they felt like they had a few beginner's traps, like you wouldn't know it the first time you were coming through, such as with Imperial China, where you wouldn't know that you only got to choose one of the disciples to train in the end, so you might, mistakenly mess some things up or try balancing things out only to find, this is kind of pointless. Which is a bit of a shame, but at the same time, I didn't ever feel like any of those moments felt discouraging, more encouraging me to come back and see what else I could have gotten. What other secrets I might have missed. I mean, I didn't necessarily do it yet. I'll probably go back in a future time and see exactly what I've missed, looking at all the secrets and stuff in this game, because there's a lot of cool things that are hidden around like that. And yeah, that was my big, kind of takeaway from the ending of each chapter, that they had a few moments that felt like, oh man, I wish I knew that ahead of time. Oh man, I wish I could have gone through that better. And then after finishing all these 7 chapters, you unlock a 8th, the medieval chapter. And holy cow, this chapter might literally be my favorite. It's so good, it's so well told. It's this tragic tale that goes over a hero who does everything a hero should do, does it all by the book. And at every moment he's kicked down further and told, no, you don't deserve a reward here, you deserve more punishment. And despite his friend's best efforts to try and tell him, oh hey, no, don't worry, you must keep faith in everything, you must keep faith in people, you must keep faith in me, you must, every kind of justification is given to him that tries to convince him that he should keep going. And every time one of those justifications is given, it's brought down like moments later and shown to be not applicable anymore. He's told it's alright as long as there's one person who loves you, only for the person he loves to then betray him. It's alright, just keep faith in people, but people continually betray him, continually hurt and harm him, no matter who they are. It's very interesting to watch, and it makes his fall all the more believable, because he did everything right. He did everything by the book, and then it doesn't work out for him. And I like Orsted's arc, and I like that chapter specifically a lot. And think it's one of the best written chapters I've seen in something in a while. And now an embarrassing moment. I didn't pay any attention to the names of all the bosses. So the Odio thing only clicked for me at the very end when Orsted announces his role as a Dark Lord, and it only clicked for me because I thought in the Western chapter that it was a bit goofy that he that the main villain was called Odio, because like what kind of a name is Odio, right? It's kind of a goofy name, and I'm like, I wonder if they all actually shared a similar naming scheme, and maybe that's why. Maybe that's why some of the names were a little goofy. And I thought that was a very, very fun moment for me, just realizing it right at the end. And after all that, you unlock one final chapter that connects everything together, right? And I think the themes for that chapter were really cool. I liked how it tried to tie everything together. It brought everyone's story into one and had everyone announce their relationship with Odio, like how they personally counter his arguments, how they see the world differently. And I thought that was absolutely the best way to do it. I thought it was creative, I thought it was awesome, and I think the dungeons in there that you got to experience if you went out of your way and found them were very creative and unique and fun, and just a nice way to pass the time. It was just really, really good overall. And I thought the ending was very powerful, very, very well done, and also very fun to play. There were a lot of fun boss fights near the end. Could have done without the boss rush, but you know, otherwise it was all well done, and it wasn't being too hard of a rush. So you know, there's that. And I feel like the final chapter also does a good job of making it very replayable. So you'll go through it once or twice and realize, oh, I'm not getting good endings here, but maybe if I do this or that, I can get through it. And it feels like you're kind of, you know, oh, I can do this really quickly now because I know how to do it, so I can just run through a few parts faster. You know, it makes it less tedious to go through, since a lot of it is just knowing what to do. And I think overall this game was fantastically polished, really unique thematically. I liked a lot of the concepts it explored, and just really fun throughout. So I wholeheartedly, I really enjoy this game. It's already up there. It's as a good contender for one of the best games I've played this year, and it only just started, so you know, I'm pretty confident. But that brings us to the end of this game journal. If you watched till the end, thanks for watching. Be sure to put your games that you've played down in the comments and discuss them in the same style. Start with the shallows, and if you want to delve into spoilers, make sure you label it as either spoilers or a deep dive or something to make sure you're polite to all the people around. And thanks for watching. This has been Swarm, and I'll see you next time.